The final operational increment that we're going to talk about in relationship to strategic planning is something called action planning. Now, again, I kind of want to backtrack just a shade. The vision is the where and the why that we're doing things. The mission is a very high level how. Strategic objectives represent a shorter term how. And action planning is really going to be the final piece of how. How do I contribute as either an individual manager, leader, or even an individual team member in the overall success of the key objectives and the overall success, ultimate success of how we achieve our vision? Action planning becomes the assignable and deadlineable, if that's a word, the ability to assign a deadline to something, incremental steps associated with achieving the strategic objectives that we talked about and outlined before. So for example, if we have a strategic objective that says increase gross revenue by 12% compared to 2014, there's obviously some steps that have to go into that. I mean, there are some marketing steps, there's probably some research steps, there are some pricing steps, there are all kinds, maybe even team member growth and staffing steps. Those represent the action plan items that then we can move to individual leaders or teams of leaders and assign it to them with key deadlines that say, all right, we need to add 2 more salespeople by March 31st, 2015, and that's going to have an impact on that growing gross sales by 12% as compared to last year. That becomes a very short-term action item, and the measurement in most action items, unlike the strategic objectives or key objectives, the measurement in action items is literally a thumbs up, thumbs down, yes, no, pass, fail kind of evaluation. It either happened or it did not happen. There really isn't a lot of increments in that. Now, one of the things that I mentioned before about being assignable, that becomes very important because now I'm pushing accountability of these strategic objectives and high-level goals down to individual people, individual departments, individual leaders, and holding them accountable for those actions that contribute to those strategic objectives. Now, a couple of other little minor details associated with action planning. One of the great temptations of action planning is to way over front load or way over back load the deadlines associated with action plans. What you want to do is you want to be a little bit strategic in how you do this and craft the deadlines and spread them throughout the course of the year. That makes sure that people stay engaged in the strategic process a little bit longer, and it takes that kind of naturalized pressure off the front of the year and that cramming that so painfully happens at the end of the year. So spread it out. I mean, one of the easiest ways to do that is that for every strategic objective, make sure that very simply you have 12 action items and spread them through January, February, March at all, and make sure that they are spread that way. It also helps your people retain a kind of a nice focused pace on the strategic objectives that they need to accomplish during the course of the year. One other element that I want to throw into that mix is that this also represents our first ability to make connectivity to performance management. I would highly encourage you that if you're assigning action items associated to strategic objectives and associated to the overall context of strategic planning, make sure in whatever performance management system that you utilize, whether that's a performance review or something more sophisticated, that those items are noted. We want to make sure that when we give somebody an action plan item that we're paying attention to it and it becomes important in their career growth, career development, and overall how we evaluate their performance.